So I like to end the pod with a pick'em, a ranking, if you will. Give me a name. If Mahomes is not our number one quarterback, if he's not QB1, then who is?
I
Dayo,
like this question.
go first.
Yeah.
If he's not number one,
if
who
Mahomes is not number one, and I thank you for letting me go first because I think he might steal my pick. But if Mahomes is not number one, I feel like the quarterback that will become number one this season will be Lamar Jackson.
Okay, all right.
I think kind of like we were saying with Michael Thomas. We've seen Lamar Jackson do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not even too long ago, 2 years ago, Lamar Jackson. And I don't know if he was the number one quarterback. I think he might have been, but he was way up there. He was the MVP of the league.
He was number one.
Yeah, he was number one. You know, number one quarterback, MVP of the league. He had a great season while still learning the quarterback position, no experience. And you know, he runs better than running backs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not even talking about just a running quarterback. We're talking about a running back that's cold that also plays quarterback.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
bad man.
It's a bad man. So if he can do and another thing about last season was a down year for the Ravens. They struggled. They were even struggling just to make it to the playoffs, you know? I don't recall what exactly hindered them from being as successful as they've been in the past. But regardless of the reasoning, I do believe this season they've surrounded Lamar Jackson with a lot of things that could improve his game, specifically in the passing game. They added Bateman, who is a great prospect. Now, people are a little sour on him now only because he went to the Ravens. But if he was to have gone to any other team with any suitable passing quarterback, Bateman might be one of the higher prospects, kind of how Jamar Chase is being taken in the 4th, 5th round. Bateman kind of might be somewhere around that area, kind of like the Devontae Smith area. Yeah. They brought in Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins has not been great, but Sammy Watkins has the pedigree. He has the experience. Sammy Watkins is not being put in a position where they need him to be the main guy. They just need him to be one of the guys. And when you have a guy that in the past has been positioned in a place where the people want him to be the main guy and they disappointed, and then you put him in a situation where he no longer has those type of expectations, they typically succeed because the talent was always there. It was not about talent. He's still fast. He still has the hands. Again, he still has the pedigree. He just, for some reason, was disappointing, whether it's due to injuries or something happened. You still have Hollywood there, who is still young. Hollywood was the number one wide receiver drafted in his draft class. I think he was the Blitnikoff winner in college from Oklahoma. And we saw at the end of the season last year, Hollywood actually was playing well. They
Love me some Hollywood.
They might have brought in some other pieces. I can't recall right now. I do know they still have Duvernay there from last year, who's going to be a little bit better. I mentioned Sammy Watkins. They drafted another guy, Tylan Wallace. So they've surrounded him with pieces. J.K. Dobbins, you would think, I mean, you know how we've spoken on J.K. Dobbins before, but just another year in the NFL, he should be a little bit better.
And if they incorporate him into the passing game, those are numbers for Lamar as well.
Exactly. All these things right here are basically showing us that, okay, so we've seen Lamar's ceiling. Let's say last year was his floor, and he still had a great season last year. Now, with all these improvements, and again, with fantasy football, you have to have some conviction. You have to some extent believe. You know, you don't take players that you think are going to have bad seasons. You know, you actually feel like your players are going to be successful. If Lamar Jackson is successful, I think he could be the number one quarterback in all of fantasy.
All right, AB, you up?
Man, you took my player, man.
See, I told you. Appreciate you.
The one time you want to go first. See how we trying to steal my thunder? All right. So I can't say Lamar.
There's another guy I'm sure you probably want to speak
so the
on.
other guy is Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Okay.
I expected that.
And for me, depending on the day of the week, depending on the time, depending on if I had breakfast, if I had coffee, I may go Lamar, I may go Kyler, So to me, this kind of goes back and forth. I definitely probably more so lean Lamar. But Kyler So I'm going to start off with my reservations with him as not being the number one. Okay. He suffered a shoulder injury, I believe, last year. And after he had that injury, we saw a significant dip in his production. Mm-hmm. And I'm not worried about the injury. Okay. I think that the injury is largely what accounted for his dip in production as opposed to NFL defenses just kind of catching up to them. I don't think that he was a very good quarterback. If we rewind back to 2020, we were high on Deshaun Watson. And you can call it a homer in me or not, but I just kept, hammering home the point that Deshaun Watson is a better NFL quarterback, and I felt was also a better, fancy, but is a better NFL quarterback than Kyler Murray. And obviously, given how late we could draft Watson versus Murray, I wanted to go Watson. Mm-hmm. So, the knocks on Murray to me are, okay, he's small, and so if he gets injured, that's going to probably knock down his production. 2, the injury may be something that's stuck in his mind and Cliff Kingsbury's mind as far as, okay, maybe we don't want him running as much. And 3 is how good of NFL quarterback is he? How good of offense really is this? We know that they're fast-paced. We know they like to throw the ball. But how good an offense is this, okay? Mm-hmm. So I've already said that this is my pick, and I've just kind of given a bunch of reasons why, you may not even want to consider drafting him now. But these are the reasons now to draft him, okay? Mm-hmm. He's a bad man. Okay, yeah. I mean,
the best high school quarterback in Texas history, bro.
I've heard that a number of times.
It's not even like a
this man is Bruce Lee. He's literally Bruce Lee. It's funny because that's obviously one of his idols. He is literally Bruce Lee on the football field in terms of his quick twitch movement, his speed, his vision from a running standpoint. Mm-hmm. I mean, just superb. He's untouchable. I drafted, I remember just watching NFL, and I had 0 Kyler Murray last year. I was completely wrong on that pick. And I had some, Kenyon Drake last year. And I just remember watching games just thinking to myself, please, somebody put a spot on Kyler Murray so he can stop just walking into the end zone
at will.
Just walking into the end zone at will.
With the ball.
He was literally walking into the end zone at will. And teams knew it. Okay. Yeah. So I don't really see a significant dip in that. Maybe we see a little bit of regression, but I still think that's because these were scheme plays, and then he just has that ability to be able to break a 30, 40-yard run for a TD.
Right.
So the rushing upside is significant, and the rushing TD upside to really become that number 1 overall, I think, is very significant. That's why we saw Josh Allen and then Lamar the year before that make that significant rise. Him improving as a quarterback, another year in the system, okay? And when he's the type of player that, for him, ending the season the way that he did, not making the fantasy playoffs, I think took a significant hit.
The real playoffs, you mean?
Yeah, the real playoffs. Yeah. Sorry. I'm thinking fancy.
I know, right? Well, I ain't get my owners into the playoffs. Dang.
But not making the NFL playoffs. You can just tell and I'm big into this. You can tell he is the type of player that is really going to go back and figure out what can he do to get better. Yeah. Okay.
He's been a winner all his life.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So
High school, college,
exactly. So I don't necessarily see him regressing as a passer. To me, he only has room for improvement. So I will bank on the potential upside that he improves as a passer. Because I think if he does that, I think that can unlock a significant amount of his game. Right. Because that's going to even make it even more easier for him to run.
Right.
Then we get to the acquisitions on offense. So number 1, having DeAndre Hopkins another year. Okay, again, being able to build that rapport, that's only going to help. Okay. Mm-hmm. They have Christian Kirk, obviously. They brought in AJ Green.
Don't sleep on AJ Green.
Okay, exactly. People, I mean, I know it's fun to hate on AJ Green. I know he hasn't done anything since 2009, jokingly. But I know he hadn't done anything in a while, but he is still a veteran wide receiver, okay? Mm-hmm. And in this offense, he's not going to be asked to carry the load, okay? He's just going to be asked to run routes and catch the ball. And I think this sort of kind of new home, this new beginning is going to rejuvenate him, not from to a standpoint of where he's going to be, seeing 100+ targets and be the AJ Green of old, but to a standpoint of where he's going to be a nice little safety blanket and a receiver that this Cardinals offense really hasn't had in the past to rely on. They've had a lot of young guys that Cliff Kingsbury has been trying to really, shuttle in these rookie wide receivers and these guys that just really haven't been able to fulfill that role. And now I'm going to get to my last point. And this is really what puts it over the edge for me. Rondale Moore, okay? To me, he is my favorite rookie wide receiver, okay? Not from a standpoint of, I think he's going to produce the most, but I love what he brings to a football team. I think he can be schemed in so many ways that after 2 to 3 weeks of NFL defenses watching Carolina or watching the Arizona Cardinals, offensive film, they are going to have to sit back and say, we need to account for this player. And when defenses have to start doing that, it opens up the field for everyone else. And I think if it were me, I'm lining him up all over the field. But I think he's that one guy that the Cardinals have not had that can provide for that short area and intermediate area, quick pass that can provide significant yards after the carry. That yak that is significantly needed. And I think that is going to help propel Murray's game to that next level. So for me, that would be my second choice.
So a few things, just to add on to what you were saying.
Yeah.
Just speak on a few things. Number one, Rondale, I agree. Talent-wise, Rondale is crazy talent-wise. The only thing that gives me slight pause is just his injury history. He has been hurt the last 2 seasons. Yeah. That actually might be the biggest reason why his draft stock was as low as it was.
And they're different injuries. These are not like the same injuries. He didn't have like a chronic knee or anything. He had like a hamstring injury, and I think he had like a hand injury. So these are very different. And these, I'm going to say it, he's Tyreek Hill. Okay, he's not Tyreek Hill.
Wow,
but he's not Tyreek Hill, but he's got that like Tyreek Hill in him. And you don't hear me throw out comps. I don't throw out comps very often. But when I say Tyreek Hill, I mean it from a standpoint of if you're an opposing DB and you're lined up against Rondale Moore, you're backing up.
Right.
You're saying, okay, you can have that 5 to 10 yards. And then after he catches that 5 to 10 yards, you are praying, saying, please, God, somebody, please send some help. Send me some help. Please don't let this man break my ankles. I mean, it's video game out there for Rondale Moore.
So that's Rondale Moore. As far as AJ Green, I do want people to remember that AJ Green for a long time in Cincinnati was having a dispute with the front office with his contract. They franchised him, I think, twice.
Good point.
And both times he was very disgruntled. We even heard rumors as far as him wanting to be traded or sent to a different team. I think that does kind of knock a player's motivation to some extent.
And who's his best friend?
I don't know who's best friend.
His best friend on the Cincinnati Bengals, like literally, I think they were like best men in each other's wedding or yes, Andy Dalton.
There you go.
They went to church together. Like these guys were close.
So motivation wise, I do think there was a knock there to some extent. He's still a big guy. He's still fast. He could still get open. I think the biggest issue last year was he wasn't catching the ball. He was getting a lot of targets, but he just literally wasn't catching. I don't feel like wide receivers lose the ability to catch.
Yeah.
So I feel like there was something else going on there. Now that he's finally gone, I think they gave him a fairly okay contract. I don't want people to just ignore him. He's the same age as Julio. People still feel like Julio, with the same injury concerns, can be what Julio is.
Yeah.
Don't just disregard AJ Green because now he's not the guy. As far as Kyler, and I'm not saying I want to put much weight on this, but I do know I did see a quote recently where I think he mentioned that he feels like he probably ran a little bit too much last year, and he feels like he should have an offense where he shouldn't have to run as much. And I think he mentioned that might have been part of the reason he got hurt, which also was part of the reason why they didn't make the playoffs. I don't know what that means.
I heard that same quote,
and
immediately, you know what it made me think of? Deshaun Watson. Because he had a very, very similar quote last year.
Okay.
Where he wanted to improve as an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
And I think when you improve as an NFL quarterback, running becomes easier.
Okay.
Running lanes become easier.
Yeah.
So when teams have to now not just defend against you running, but they also have to defend not just the short routes, but the entire field.
Yeah.
When the entire field is open, I think that really expands your game, and that's really where you can excel. Because remember, what Kyler has always lacked in is that passing TDs. Mm-hmm. He can compile a lot of yardage, both through the air, but specifically on the ground, and then obviously with the rushing TDs. But he's always lacked in the passing TD standpoint.
Right.
So I think this is an area where we could really see him exceed. So I'm, again, it's a little bit of let's hope he takes that next level. But even if he doesn't, I mean, it's not like he's gonna.
He has a good floor, regardless.
Yeah, he has an excellent floor.
Can I mention one quarterback?
Go ahead.
Total sleeper. Like, I'm not even saying.
Please don't steal mine. Go ahead.
I'm not. What you? I'm not.
Oh, you got one.
I have one.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm saying Justin Herbert.
Oh, wait.
I'm saying Justin Herbert. Listen,
That's what I'm talking about.
Listen, freshman. Listen,
That's what I'm talking about.
Listen, he comes in.
Wait, we talking about the Chargers part?
Yeah, sorry. He comes in as a rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
He's thrown in. He throws for 4,300 yards, 31 touchdowns, 5 rushing touchdowns. Listen, don't be surprised if Justin Herbert is our quarterback one.
I can go in on that.
We're gonna talk Chargers on another podcast.
I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna let you have your thunder. But
I'll let you have your thunder. I'm not gonna say anything.
So can I just speak on my sleeper guy?
Go ahead.
He's not even like a guy that I feel like is gonna be one of the top quarterbacks.
Man, don't mention this guy.
I got to. That's my guy. I just want to put it on. Put it on tape.
We had a good pod.
Hey, look,
we enjoyed ourselves.
Y'all
the first time back in a while. We in person.
Look,
you want to end like this? Okay.
Don't ignore this guy in Washington by the name of Taylor Hinkie, man.
Oh my God.
That's all I'm saying. The guy. Go back and watch that playoff game against the Bucks. The same Bucks that, to some extent, shut down Aaron Rodgers.